You're not Brian. Wait a second. This episode's off to a great start. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be hailing from. This is Red Hat Enterprise Linux Presents. Today we're on episode 73, and we return to our Day in the Life series here on this show. Today we're going to be you already saw him. We'll be meeting with Mr. Chuck Marshall. He is a solutions architect here at Red Hat. His focus is on infrastructure, so focuses a lot on the three major pillars. You've got Red Hat Enterprise Linux, Ansible Automation Platform, and OpenShift. So today we're going to be diving into what it's like to be a solutions architect, as well as kind of what you can do day in and day out. And of course, it wouldn't be RHEL Presents without Mr. System Roles himself, Mr. Brian Smith.
Hey, Eric. How's it going today?
Well, the botched intro aside, it's going great. Oh, goodness. Just got back from Red Hat 1. I was down in beautiful Argentina meeting with some of our Latin America folks.
That's awesome.
But sorry to everyone for the ridiculousness when it came to scheduling. I know it's been a while since we've had an episode, but glad to see you all and glad to be talking about solutions architecture today. With that said, let's go ahead and bring on our already spoiled guest, Mr. Chuck Marshall himself. Welcome to RHEL Presents.
Hi, Eric. Hi, Brian. Thank you. By the way, I enjoy the botched intro. That means it's going to be very interesting. Gives it a little bit of character, right?
Oh, there's no saying what will come out of my mouth whenever we go live. It's ridiculous. So why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, who you are, what you do, and what you like to do for fun? Then we'll talk about what you really do.
Oh, sure. Well, okay. Hey, Chuck Marshall. I'm an account solution architect. So in terms of solution architecture, there's a few flavors of us, but the one that I am is the account solution architect. And basically what that means is I have responsibility for the entire Red Hat portfolio. Well, okay, first of all, I interact with customers. I'm a field-facing person. I team up with an account representative, and I have the technical relationship. I manage that technical relationship with the customer. So right now I happen to have 3 customers, and I am the first point of contact that they have. So if they have any questions about RHEL, Ansible, anything really, I'm the person that they should contact to begin with, if not my account. That said, account solution architects are usually responsible for RHEL, a little bit of Ansible, some satellite, platform stuff, And I've been with Red Hat about just coming up on 10 years in May. So I'll be here a decade.
Congratulations.
The puck is up there, if you can see. It says 5 years. I got that at my 6th year. So maybe I'll get my 10 year at the 11th year. So that'd be fun. And I reside in Southeast PA. So I am right outside of Philadelphia. And that's where I've been for a good 20-some years. Glad to be at Red Hat, a kind of a Red Hat fanboy.
That's awesome. And Chuck, have you had any other roles here at Red Hat other than solutions architects? Yeah. Can you talk about other things you've worked on here at Red Hat?
Sure. Yeah. So never in my life did I ever think I would be in sales, ever. It was kind of a shock and surprise to me as I moved into this role. But I was originally a developer. For many, many years, like 14, 15 years, I programmed in Java, C, C++, any of that sort of, that area of languages. And also I did some front-end stuff, HTML, CSS, JavaScript. I've had to learn other languages over my years. Python, I'm not a great fan of Python, but that's okay. Really more of a typed language guy. Anyway, I have had another role here, which was a senior consultant. And then after a year or so, I got moved into a management role. So I've had managerial experience here at Red Hat as well. And, I just managed to move my way over into solution architecture when I realized, I actually do like talking with people. I really like interacting with them. That said, I run the Philadelphia Red Hat user group. We call it RUG. We're actually having one tomorrow. Yay. I do a lot of workshops. I actually run the artificial intelligence community of practice as well. So a lot of hats, most of them red, some gray, and just really happy about being a Red Hat.
That's awesome to hear. Now, you did skip over one question, though.
Oh, I'm sorry.
This is the one no one wants to talk about, but I always press it just because it's fun. So what does Chuck do when he's not red hatting? What do you do for fun?
Ooh. Oh boy. Okay, so ultra nerd. I used to play video games. I try it whenever I can to play video games. That kind of stopped back in like the late 2000s. I program. I have been a programmer. I've been a developer. I love to program and develop stuff on my own. I'm looking to open source a graph package soon. Yeah, not like graphing lines. It's more of a graph vertices and edges. It's one of those things. So that's what I like to do for fun. I also my kids are getting into they're in their teen years. One's going to be in college next year. So one of them is a swimmer, and I help do officialing for what she's doing for swimming. That's also like hiking, but yeah, that's about it. I develop on my own time. Super nerd, right?
You said you were a super nerd, and you did not disappoint.
Yep.
All right. So starting to frame up this conversation around solutions architecture, what brought you into technology? I mean, you were a developer, so how did you get into tech in the first place?
Oh, wow. So this goes all the way back to the late 1900s. And I know that takes us all back a little bit, but I am a person of a particular age who was born in the last millennium. And yes, last century, last millennium. And it turns out, so back in high school, I really wanted to do chemistry. I thought, this is really great. I love chemistry. I love, physics and chemistry. And I thought, I can do this. I'm really good at this. And then I got to college, and it turns out I am not great at chemistry. Inorganic chemistry in high school, fine. But organic chemistry kind of kicked my butt a little bit. And I realized I am not having a good time. I'm probably going to have to choose something else. So my then girlfriend, now wife of 20 plus years, encouraged me to switch over to computer science, because she says, you're kind of good at computers. Why don't you do that? So I did. I made the switch and haven't looked back. They actually said it's not going to be possible for you to graduate in 4 years. I switched over halfway through my senior year, and I asked them, is it mathematically impossible for me to switch over? And they said, well, no, but you're going to have to take a lot of classes. I said, bring it. I got this. Sure enough, 2.5 years later, graduated. And actually went for my master's a few years later.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can relate. I moved out of computer science and into network communications management, because about halfway through my C# class, I'm looking at this going, there's no way that I will survive doing this for 40 hours a week for the next 40 years. Then I asked, there's this room with all these boxes with blinking lights and cables coming out of them. I want to work on that.
That I work on the devices that have a lot of lights on them, and computer screen. So I tell the computer what to do, and sometimes it listens. That's about it.
That sounds about
programming.
Right.
It's and I don't mean to go into continuous jokes, but that is how I handle things. I'm kind of a jokester. Debugging is going to be most of your life in programming, and it's kind of like a murder mystery where you're both the detective and the murderer. You have to find out what you did wrong and fix it. So it's kind of, if you enjoy debugging, programming may be for you. I happen to like it because I like solving problems.
That's an apt description.
Solution architecture.
So let's dive more into the solutions architect role. Like what does like a normal average day look like for you? Like what kind of stuff are you working on and doing day to day?
Oh boy. So there are there's several things you can take care of day to day with solution architecture. So obviously it's a sales role. It's a field facing role. Meeting with customers is priority one. So you want to be out there. You want to be interacting with them. Getting into meetings and saying, hey, what does when you're asking me what my day-to-day looks like, I kind of ask them what their day-to-day looks like. What are you facing that you're having issues with? Is there anything that is causing you problems? And to be fair, a lot of the people that I interact with have far more experience in terms of system administration than I do. They have decades. I've been doing this for 6 or 7 years. So I know what I'm doing. I got my RHCA. But telling them this is the way to do things still feels a little weird. That said, getting in front of customers and saying, hey, I'm here to help you. If you're running into any problems, let's take a look and try and solve them. If you have any outdated processes, let's take a look at that. We have lots of things we can do to help you out. So if I see a problem, then I can go in and talk to my account rep and say, they're having this problem. And I know that this particular technology that we have at Red Hat will help solve that. It may not solve everything, but it will at least allow them to get some relief out of that pain. So we could tee up with other partners, other technologies, and put those in to make the customers' lives a whole lot better. That's sort of day to day. It's the talking with the rep, talking with the customers, doing a little bit of research, and trying to figure out where they're falling down, what issues they're having, and trying to solve them. Putting in a solution with architecture.
It's almost like we thought this title through.
I know, right?
Brian, were you ever an SA?
No. So I was a technical account manager before I moved into my current role. And I would guess, Chuck, you've probably worked with some TAMs.
Oh, absolutely. Some of my favorite folks. In fact, I saw one on here. Rick Green. Shout out to Rick. Platform TAM. So he has helped me in some of my accounts. And I like to say that the solution architecture people are we're the field facing, we're the interaction. TAMs have another special skill, though. They are good at interacting and they're good at technology. I am smart, but I realize that the TAMs are far smarter.
So I was a solutions architect in a couple of different places. So and I promise this story isn't just out of the blue. I have a follow-up question. But I went from being an IT systems administrator, systems engineer for Linux, and did that for about a decade or so. Managed everything from RHEL to CentOS to Oracle Linux to Ubuntu to things I've probably since forgotten. And I swore I would never, ever, ever work in sales until I worked in technical sales at GitLab for a year, and then at Red Hat for about just shy of 2 years. And then I found my true calling as a technical marketer. But you started out technical. You started out as a contributor, a developer. So how did you get? What was the mindset for you? The shift that took place going from I'm going to contribute code, I'm going to build applications, to I want to sell something.
Well, a lot of it had to do with I was in management over in consulting, Red Hat Consulting. And I'm realizing this is great, but I'm not into the actual technology anymore. And I still want to I still want to be influential. I still want to help people, but it's not using my skills as best I thought they could be. So I took a look around and well, there's got to be other roles. And sure enough, there was a solution architecture role. I never thought I would be in sales, right? Just like you, I thought it never occurred to me. But as it turned out, I'm actually good with talking with people, helping them out, and being technical at the same time. So it's convergence of all of those three things that kind of led me here. And it's turned out to be kind of the perfect job. I get to play around with technology. I get to talk to people, and I get to help them with their issues. So it's really the best of all worlds.
Yeah, I have to agree with that, and add to it just a little bit, because when I was when I was a systems engineer, systems architect, depending on where you're at, I really got frustrated not being a part of the conversation. I was an individual contributor. I was the guy who kept the lights on. I was the guy who got yelled at when the lights weren't on, and when the lights were on, no one even knew what I did. And it was a rough place to be. And then I went to DevOps Days Kansas City, met a sales guy from GitLab. He's like, "You've got a lot of personality for a sysadmin." It's like, I've heard this in interviews, and I've never quite known what that means. It's like, well, you're a technologist who's good with people. okay. But I was tired of being behind that curve. I was tired of not being able to influence decisions. So it's like, okay, fine. If the environments I've been a sysadmin won't listen to my suggestions, then I'll get ahead of the curve and try and tell these same companies, look, this is how you need to do it. These are best practices. And see, I've got the shirt. It's like, please listen to me. I'm trying to help you. I really am. And so like you, I moved into solutions architecture, and it's like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. I get to talk to not just my own company. I no longer have to keep the lights on. I get to stand up a server, have it run a demo, and then I can blow it away. It's so great. And I get to talk to people, which apparently I enjoyed. And if it weren't for that switch from sysadmin to solutions architect, it's like I never would have seen my career explode the way it has. I never would have thought I'd work for a company like Red Hat.
So you're forgetting one thing though, Eric.
I never forget anything.
Isn't the best part that you're no longer on call anymore?
Oh, that is for sure one of the beautiful things. In fact, when I joined the marketing part of the RHEL BU, I was told by my manager that there are no marketing emergencies. It's like, so I'm not going to get called at 9 p.m. because someone broke their demo. It's like, nope. Yes. 10 years carrying the pager. Some of our younger audience might not know what that is, but it was like before a cell phone. It was like this big. You put it on your belt and it beeped and you had to jump.
Oh, yes. The little device that kept you at home and unable to travel, and kind of your worst enemy just sitting on your bedside and thinking, I really hope this doesn't go off tonight at 2 a.m. I've had to deal with that a whole lot over the course of being a developer. Believe it or not, I know it's, if there's happened to be an install that night, then you're on call. And actually, there was pager duty that we had to take care of anyway, because reasons they wanted to spread the pain, I guess. I don't know. And yeah, being on pager duty, no, nobody likes that, but especially technologists, they hate it.
Been there, done that, got the scars. That's like Shantanu said. That's why I now break demos live on YouTube. I don't need a production environment. I can break demos. It's great.
I can do that all by myself, right?
Right. So actually, that's a really good segue. Thank you, Shantanu, because we kind of talked high level day to day, but you said talking to customers is number one. You kind of talk through a discovery process. It's a lot of back and forth, and I know for myself, like it shows on this show, but it also shows when I'm at conferences and when I'm occasionally invited to talk to customers. Is okay. So what problems do you have? Okay, so good news. Guess what? The problems you just told me you have, same problems I had a decade ago. So this is nothing new. These are not new issues. You're not alone. Yep. But the next part of that is we've talked about how having a personality, like enjoying talking to people, maybe not even being outgoing, but just being that nerdy technologist who can carry a conversation further than how you doing, is a huge asset. But what about the technical side? How much time do you spend learning? What kind of demo environments, labs do you have? And what is it? And by the way, if you're wondering if we're going to have a demo, we're going to put Chuck on display, showing off his live demo skills to everybody. So that's coming up. So stay with us. We're getting there, I promise. But what does the technology side of your position look like, both from learning to building to demonstrating?
Well, at Red Hat, it's, I got to say, phenomenal, because I, as a Red Hatter, have full access to the entire portfolio and library of all of our training. I learn best by video. And as it so happens, our video series on, say, RH199 or 294 for RHCSA, RHCE, any and all, I mean, I would say most, have video content for them. Now, maybe not all, so maybe some of them are lagging behind. That's okay. But I don't like reading the documentation. It is someone with ADHD. I tend to want the answers quickly and move on to the next thing, the next shiny thing. But having that video and being like, okay, cool, I can see this person doing it in real time. Maybe I can copy it, and running the demo, running the demos and labs in the background. Awesome. I don't mean to tout our Red Hat training or learning any more than that, but it's really really good.
Please do.
What? Please do. Okay, yeah.
Yes, please do.
Help me get my RHCA. Like, so in way back when I was starting out here, in terms of solution architecture, I knew almost nothing about RHEL. I knew almost nothing about any of the technologies. I knew how to program Java. I knew how to program C and C++. Did I know how to configure satellite? Not a clue. What's Ansible? So I thought, you know what? If I'm going to be doing this job, it probably would be a good idea for me to learn about the technologies I'm helping to sell. So I did. I dove in and I said, I'm going to learn one every 2 months or 3 months. And as it turned out, I did a whole bunch all at once, and they all expired at the same time as well. So lesson learned. I will not do that ever again. I will pace them out. But that's part of the learning process here. I have access to all of it, and I don't have to pay for any of these labs either, or any of the training. Awesome. I'm going to take advantage of that as much as possible. So if I need to learn anything about RHEL, take a 199. If I need to, or a 294, depending on where my skills lie, I can go in and check if I have the skills to do this. And oh my gosh, yes, lab.redhat.com. I have run labs for customers, and these things are amazing. They're out there for you, available now. Just go there, and you can see them in real time. You can interact with them. You can copy all of that stuff down to your computer and say, I want to run it like this, and it'll work the same way. But getting back to learning, wow, yes, I want to learn as much as possible. I love learning, and having those videos available for me just is great. I'm constantly want to learn more. It's hard because you have to be facing with the customer, you have to be interacting with them, but taking time for yourself and actually spending time learning, it's difficult to prioritize that, but you have to in this role, because otherwise you're not going to learn the new stuff. You're going to fall behind. You won't be able to help your customers as much, right?
Yeah, and for anyone watching, so Chuck mentioned the RHCA. That's the Red Hat Certified Architect. And if you're not familiar with it, it requires, it's a total of 7 certifications you have to pass to get that title. So that, that's super, super cool, Chuck. Congratulations on completing that. And I would also add that, if people are interested in all these videos and training sessions that Chuck is talking about, we have the Red Hat Learning subscription that does provide access to that training material. So you can have access to the same thing that, that Chuck's talking about here as well.
You can select the Red Hat Learning subscription. Okay, I promise I won't be salesy all that much, but Red Hat Learning subscription gives you access to everything, all the training. You can pick and choose if you wanted to learn, like, I want to learn OpenShift, I want to learn RHEL, I want to learn Ansible, whatever. Those you can select individually, but you can actually go in and get the entire subscription for all the technologies for a year, for 3 years, however long you want to buy it for.
So one question I had is, as part of your role, how much are you traveling? Are you on the road constantly, or is it pretty rare? What does that look like?
Okay, so remember back in the olden times, pre-pandemic, yeah, I know we've actually come out on the other end of this. Thank goodness we're actually getting to see customers again. Pre-pandemic, it was, go out and see customers, maybe 40% of travel. You do have to spend some time for learning, for doing for building demos, for being able to show them, but it wasn't tremendous amount of travel. That said, my customers happen to be one's very close, 2 are in one in another part of the state and one in another state entirely. So getting to see them is a little bit of a challenge. There's some, scheduling that has to happen, but getting out to see them, wonderful. But it's in the post-pandemic time, a lot of customers have said, we don't really want to go into the office. We're just, if you want to have a meeting with us, let's do it online. Okay, I'm in my office. I have access to whoever I need to talk to on video. Okay. And it's actually decreased my amount of travel a lot. But would I want to get out there and talk more to customers face to face? Yes. Yes, absolutely. Take them out to lunch, or that's one of the best parts of this. Red Hat paying for lunch getting to take customers out, and just talking with them in their offices, meeting face to face.
So as we wrap up the section on solutions architecture, there's one question that I always try to ask our guests, and what is the main thing you would tell a technologist, someone starting in their career, someone who may be kind of where you and I were, where it's like I'm kind of done being the hands-on operations guy. I want to shift. What would you tell a technologist in that situation to why should they consider a position like this?
If you have a love of talking with people, of solving problems, I happen to love. Oh, so this is something I didn't mention. I love jigsaw puzzles. So, if you like solving problems, if you like talking with people, if you like demonstrating, if you like being the center of attention, shocking, I know. Sometimes I feel like I talk to hear myself talk, but I used to sing. I still like singing. If you like that sort of thing, if you like interacting with people, and if you like getting out from behind the desk and going out to lunch, going to other people's offices and saying, hey, what issues you're running into, this might just be the job for you. You kind of have to get out of your comfort zone. I mean, I was never anyone who really wanted to go and talk with people, but I do. It turns out I like doing it. Just being forced to do it kind of helps, help me get that skill. If you feel like you may want to do that, though, if you feel like being behind the scenes, like Eric, you said, if you're not moving the needle, if you're not changing anything inside your company, that you feel like things could be a whole lot better, if you wanted to help move that needle, give it a shot. This is a really great role. You do have to be personable, and you do have to interact with people. So if that's not for you, this may not be the job for you. And you get to play mad scientist in your lab. You get to stand up things. You get to shut them down. It's wonderful. I like being Dr. Frankenstein and saying, "It's alive," as I stand up a demo that occasionally works.
Right.
So speaking of demo, I understand you're going to talk about some of the coolest features in RHEL here.
Oh yes, I had a feeling you'd like some of these features.
So while you get logged back into your system, Brian, you worked field, you worked TAM. What might you add to what Chuck was saying?
Yeah, I mean, I loved working as a TAM, and it similar to what Chuck was saying, it's really great to be able to talk to a lot of different customers and to be able to build those relationships and really be able to help them be successful. And one thing I really liked about being TAM is every day was totally different. Like you didn't know, you're not just patching servers day after day, or the same building servers, or every day was very different, very exciting. So I think I share a lot of the same experiences what Chuck was talking about here.
Oh,
I think for me,
in addition to that, real quick,
okay, go for it.
The ability to learn the new technologies as they come about. We're on the bleeding edge, or leading edge at least, of technology. So being able to learn that technology and have it impact your customers and saying, look, this is a new technology that is coming down the horizon. You will probably want to take a look at this. And sometimes if your customers are, resistant to change, you can help them. You can help them see this technology is going to help you a whole lot. Sorry, Eric.
No, you're fine. You're fine. That's a great observation. In fact, almost as if we planned it, which we didn't. But my addition to that would be just the fact that what I love is the intersection of everything that you guys said. Just the fact that some days your head's down, you're trying to get a demo to work. In fact, as I'm saying this, I can hear my Dell R730, the fan spinning up because it probably something just crashed. But some days I'm full on technologist. Other days I'm sitting back in meetings and learning and talking to my product managers about what's coming. I mean, just things are always changing, and that's true as much for a technical marketer like myself as it is for solutions architect. So I just love the intersection of technology, getting to know people, solving problems. Just you sit in this middle place, and like Jay Scar said, who's a TAM hanging out in our chat today, and like you, Brian, and Chuck said, it's things never stay the same. It's a lot of fun. It's incredibly challenging. Requires a heavy level of skills. So it's definitely not for everybody, but it's definitely fulfilling. It's definitely exciting. So that said, Brian gave you a heads up that this is coming. Why don't you tell us what you're going to be demonstrating? Because I know Brian is giddy to talk about this.
Sure. So I have stood up a RHEL 9.3 system, and what I wanted to demo was terminal session logging, and especially RHEL system roles. Brian, I know you're kind of a fan of that.
He's mentioned it a time or two.
A couple, yeah, right? What can I say? Terminal session logging, one of the two things, potentially very useful if you wanted to know what your users are doing. If you wanted to say, okay, this particular user, if we have some sort of security requirement that we need to make sure they're doing X, Y, and Z, we can terminal record their sessions and say, all right, well, they've done X, Y, and Z, or see what else happens to be going on. Input, output, anything that happens in that session. And the coolest thing about this is it happens in real time. It's not necessarily a recording per se like you would see on a video, but it does timestamp things so that when you type them in or when you get output, they are played back in that real time. So it's not as a video, but it's made into a video over the with the output and with the input and the output. And what we call Web UI or Cockpit, which is just immensely cool. So if you're a fan of the command line, awesome. More power to you. I love the command line. I was not a system administrator for many years. So helping me get more into the role and using more of the technology than I believe I could have, seeing it visually absolutely helps. So the terminal, Web UI, having the ability to be in a graphical user interface, to access storage, to access networking, to actually have a terminal on your browser. How cool is that? And interact with everything that's going on inside your system. It doesn't do everything, but it's really close. And Eric, I know you have a story behind this one too. It's accessible. It's accessible from your phone. Oh my God. Your story from a long time ago, and I won't go into it because you may want to tell this, but having the ability to do this at dinner, oh my God, I don't have to go out and get my laptop.
So the story that Chuck is referencing is one that I tell frequently and often. It just makes Brian smile every time I tell it. Is I have this memory from maybe 2010, 2011. We'd moved past the beeper stage, thank goodness. And and I distinctly remember going out with a girlfriend's parents. May have been a lot of our family, in fact. We went out to dinner, and I'd ordered steak, and it was going to be perfect and wonderful. But sure enough, as we finish placing our order, I have to excuse myself from the table because I get the text message in all capital letters, and it had its own ringtone assigned to it because the on-call number was just immediate anxiety spike. Anyway, so I had to excuse myself to go out to my car, get my backpack out of the back seats, and set up on my trunk an emergency command center. I'm logging into my laptop. I'm setting up my 3G Verizon hotspot, and then setting my probably a BlackBerry down on speakerphone on the trunk of my car. And of course, that all takes 10 minutes just to get everything set up, just to where you can log in. So then you jump on your laptop, you get connected to the 3G hotspot. Fortunately, the on-call gods are with you because you actually get a solid connection, connect to the VPN. And of course, by now, managers are on the on-call conference bridge demanding to know why things haven't been fixed yet. It's like, steak, bro. And so you get logged in, and turns out that a database backup had hung, and it all you needed to do was go and clear that job, and everything works fine. But that means calling the database administrator, having them jump in and clear their job. It's like, why was I even on this call? But of course, it's an on call. It's an emergency, so everybody's on, no matter who or where or what they do. Everybody's on the bridge, and by the time I got back, my beautiful, wonderful, medium rare steak was cold.
Oh,
But the part that Brian likes is, had I have had the smartphone that I have now and my 5G connection, VPN on my phone, and Firefox, which I have all of those things right here, I could have sat there at the table and said, excuse me for a moment, log in my phone, log into the VPN, pull up a web browser, type in the URL :9090 of the server, seen that job was hung, and we'll talk about metrics in Web Console here in just a second, and not have missed my steak. So Web Console saves steak lovers everywhere. We should make that part of our marketing campaign for Web Console. All right, so Eric anecdotes out of the way. Chuck, I'm going to throw one curveball at you for this demo. Brian and I are your customer.
ooh.
So you better sell us on why this is good. Eric, the IT guy, knows. Eric, the customer, maybe not so much. So Brian, I didn't think about this until we went live, but let's see if we can give him a hard time.
Oh, you can absolutely give me a hard time. We'll see if I can handle it. Okay, let's give it a
You
shot.
got this.
All right. So, Web UI, Cockpit. Logging in. I didn't actually show the login, but it's your standard login screen, username, password, and just getting to, here I am. Shows you all the good stuff about quick dashboard health of your system, how much is being used at the particular time, system info, config stuff, good stuff. A quick reboot or shutdown menu here, not to mention all the goodies that you get over here on the left. So it gives you here's the system that I'm taking a look at. By the way, this is not just for a system that you happen to be on at the time. This is any system that has this installed. You can go in and log in to, if I had this installed at, let's say, 192.168.0 or 1.5, I could type in that here with 9090 if it happened to be running that daemon, log in, and I'm seeing that system. Great stuff.
Yeah, and if I can add one thing on that too.
Yeah.
Because this is kind of a common misconception about the Web Console. One of the things I frequently hear from people is we don't want to run the Cockpit web server on host and open up port 9090 on the firewall. They don't want to have an extra service running, extra ports open on the firewall, etc., which is a valid concern. So when you use that functionality you were just talking about, though, where you go add an additional host, when it connects to that additional host from here, it's going to actually connect to that host over SSH. So the remote host that you're connecting into does not need to be running the Cockpit web server.
Yep.
Only this one host, like this could be like your jump host or Bastion host that you're logged in now, that needs to be running the web server. But then the additional host you add in, it's going to connect over SSH. No need to have the Cockpit web server even installed on those remote hosts. You just need to have the base Cockpit packages installed, SSH access, and you can connect into those.
Yep. And it takes up minimal requirements or system functionality. Very, very small, and will give you a whole lot in return. So great. There's insights, 2 hits, including important. You can use this to go all the way over to console.redhat.com. I haven't mentioned that before. It's one of my favorite things to talk about because insights is one of my favorite things to talk about in general. Kind of makes me a Red Hat fanboy, I know. Anyway, if you wanted to see interesting things about your subscription status, if you wanted to see, hey, my systems are impacted by CVE, 2024, blah, 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 then you would go over to Insights and say, okay, any of my registered machines, I can take a look. Oh, this happens to be this, the CVE impacts it. Great. I'm going to select all the systems that are impacted. I'm going to remediate it right there. Either you can go through satellite and you can click a button, say, run this. fix all my systems, then run it again and see that they're all fixed. Or if you don't happen to be running satellite, I recommend you run satellite. But if you don't happen to be, it'll give you an Ansible playbook that you can download and run on your system and say, all right, impacting all these systems, go run this. And it will go out, remediate those systems, and come back and say, fixed it. Great. Rerun Insights client and get the updated results over to console.redhat.com. You're up and running again. Everything's safe. Quick and dirty of Red Hat Insights. But taking a look here, I mean, you have apps that you can install. I happen to have installed session recording. Why it's showing 2 of them, I'm not really sure. Podman, anything for machines, manage virtual machines. Image Builder. This is an amazing tool. A lot of customers that I have want to have a gold image. And I know that it means something different for a whole lot of people. But if you wanted to have an image out on your cloud or even internally with, I don't know, like VMware, or if you wanted to have something for Azure, Google Cloud, AWS, whatever, you can say, I want to enter all my username, password, that sort of thing, the credentials. Helps to remember what the actual name is. And build an image, selecting all the packages, selecting the storage, how you want it configured, and build that gold image and push it up to cloud or keep it on-prem so that you can use that image going forward and saying, great, everything is going to be based off of this gold image. If you wanted to later on say, cool, I have this gold image, but it doesn't really have everything I want on it, there's another tool, Ansible, that you can use to do all the post-provisioning configuration. Awesome stuff. Image Builder just makes it really, really easy to go and say, all right, I want to put a particular image on a cloud that we're going to base all of our systems on. If they happen to be like web servers, that's an image. Database, that's an image. Anything. Configure at your leisure and just use that as the gold image, gold standard. Podman, which I'm going to be talking about tomorrow at the Rug, access to everyone's heard of containers, I'm sure, but if you've not, containers are the new cool thing. They are the ability, and a lot of people say lightweight VM. That gets people really, really mad. They are not lightweight VMs. The ability to run a process that has everything contained within it, container, and being able to run that as a process that has guards on it, that has C groups, that has namespaces, and have that image or have that container being run as something lightweight on your machine. Awesome. Plus, you can enhance that with Kubernetes. I'm sure everybody's heard of Kubernetes. Push it up to the cloud using OpenShift. I know I said I wasn't going to get too salesy, but I'm going a little salesy. Session recording, like we said, that was if we need to see what person X is doing on a particular session, great, let's have it record. You can set it up for recording some, recording none, recording all. Interactions with a particular user on a particular console. Storage, oh my God. So if you've ever tried to do storage on a Linux system, you need to know a whole lot. It's become easier over the years, but I'm still a novice. So having access to being able to manage storage in terms of like on a web UI, this changed my life. This was amazing. Subscription manager. If you ever had to worry about subscriptions, if you wanted to say, I need these systems registered for this particular subscription. Great, you can manage it here. Also, here's our overview. Any logs that you wanted to take a look at. If anything happened to run afoul, oops, okay, well, here's where you would go to take a look at some of these logs. And you can prioritize them. You can say, what's an identifier that we need to take a look at, priorities, time that you wanted to take a look at. Here's that storage piece that I was going into. We have drives. Okay, so the VirtIO disk, right? It takes in a 21.5, taking a drill down into here and taking a look. Oh, wow. Okay, so here's this partition, this partition. You can create another partition. You can create that partition table if you happen to have. I'm not going to do it here because I have stuff on here and I'm running it. But creating the partition table. back. Installing NFS support. Networking. Oh,
Yeah, I gotta say that
Yeah.
the storage screen was one of the first things to sell me wholeheartedly on using web console.
mhm.
Like you said, it's a lot of arguments, it's a lot of different commands, a lot of different ways to go in and set up, especially if you're using something like LVM. But I'm very visual, so being able to go to the storage system on web console, see exactly with the blue bar where all my storage is at in a glance, and then to be able to go through basically a wizard to create new partition tables to put in LVM. A lot of my systems share a shared like dump space as an NFS share. All that I can set up now through web console. That and firewalls were like the two things that just like I am a seasoned Linux systems administrator, and these things still drive me nuts to this day. Now I don't have to worry about it because I can just come in here, click buttons, type in a couple of answers, and I'm done.
Yep.
I've gotten lazy in my old sysadmin age.
Well, I used to be one of those folks who said, I can do everything. I know how to do this. I can do it. And getting up in age, I'm thinking, you know what? I probably can do it, but I don't have to. Now I have an ability to do things the quick way. And getting more things done in a shorter amount of time, I'm all for it. And like you were saying, with networking, having access to the firewall, enabling and disabling, adding a new zone, adding services in here. You can see I added the cockpit service, SSH service. You could go in and add, NFS, whatever. Anything to do with any firewall happening here. Great stuff. Let's see, we have different interfaces and network logs. Podman containers. Oh my gosh. So I did go ahead and create a pod group, right? And if you wanted to, you could say create another pod or create a container inside that pod based off of an image that you would get down off of like Red Hat or registry.redhat.io. Maybe saying that the wrong way around, but did I say that correctly?
I think so.
Excellent. Okay. I know there's been a few changes in the where to go to get these images, but I was hoping that would be the correct one. Anyway, basing it off of like a UBI 8, Universal Base Image 8, Universal Base Image 9. Just being able to grab that container image, customize it however you like, and then say, cool, now run this. You would be able to do all of that from here, which... honestly, if you don't like having to do all of the commands on the command line, this might be the right thing for you. Having access to all of your accounts. And right now you can see it's me and just root. So being able to go in and say, all right, who is this person? Cool. What groups do they have access to? Where's their home directory? Any public SSH keys. You did that. Services. Oh, okay. So really good stuff here. Services, right?
It's actually helped us in the pre-show.
It did. It really did. So behind the scenes, SSSD did not want to cooperate with me. So it was saying, it failed to come up. And I wouldn't have known that unless I had gone in and said, all right, let's take a look. System CTL status SSD. And then it would show me, oh, yeah, it failed. Here, it's at a glance. I just go ahead and say, oh, well, what is going wrong here? And it happened to show me the ones that are failing up at the top. So anything that isn't running that should be running, you'll see it here. You can filter by state, by file state, typing in which ones do I want to see. Let's take a look at SSSD. Here shows you all the ones that have SSSD in them. Let's get that for now. Targets, sockets, timers, paths, everything, right? And then you get into your session recording. And if you happen to have any recordings that you've done, if anybody's logged in under a particular user, or if it happens to be set to all, then any user, you'll see all those recordings here. You can configure them over here and saying, all right, well, what do we want to take a look at? Here's the notice that's going to be shown. Attention, your session is being recorded. You'll get to be, you get to see like logging. What are we going to log? User input, user output, window resize. Take a look. What are we going to use for writing? Journal, syslog, file. journal priority system, all that stuff. And you can say, all right, where's the file going to be? Save it here, SSD config. Do you want none? Do you want to have some? Do you want to have all of the sessions being recorded? Great, do it here.
Yeah, and just to add on just a couple of things here. So the session recording is really a super useful feature because, I think any of us who have been in a situation where there's like a production outage, the step number one is you want to get the system back up and running and operational, right? But then, step number two is you're going to be asked to perform a root cause analysis of what exactly caused that problem. And, oftentimes there is going to be a human component to what led up to that. And the session recording is really an effective way to understand exactly what happened from a terminal session. And what's, one thing I think is really cool about this is, say you have a bunch of people logged in and they were logged in for, 2 hours or something. You probably don't want to sit there and watch the whole recording, right? For, because this can take a lot of time. But using the web console, when you go back and watch these recordings, you can actually search for keywords in the recording. So if there was a file name that you're interested in or a command that was run, you can search the recording and pinpoint, the timestamp in that recording of when that occurred. And then one other thing I wanted to add too, you were talking about over on the services page, being able to see, what services are running, et cetera. We had also recently added a feature in the web console where you can pin, certain services to the top of the list here. So if you're
Oh, nice.
If you're worried about a specific service that you want to be at the top of the list, you can go in there. If you pull up one of these, hit the dots there at the top. And then you can pin unit, right? And so
Very nice.
when you do that, you can see now that's pinned at the top of your list there. So it makes it really easy because, oftentimes there's a few critical services running that you're really concerned about. And if you pin those, you'll see them at the top of the list here.
I love it. That is great because there are, you don't want to see them all in alphabetical order. Usually you want to, there are certain ones that you want to access pretty regularly, right? Like SSHD or cronid or NFSD, whatever, that would help you just narrow down and see at a glance right here. Those are the most important ones. Fantastic. I was talking about all the applications that we have available. Some of them you can install, some you can remove, whatever. Diagnostic reports. If you were to, and I ran this one before, but you do have the ability to say, okay, I want to run a report on the system, get an output for it, and just this is what's going on with your system. Kernel dumps. I'm not even going to try and do this right now. SE Linux. Oh my goodness. So please, please, please keep SE Linux enforcing. The worst words you can ever hear probably, I believe, are set enforce 0. Don't do that. Never do that. For all those who don't know, that will make it permissive. And absolutely do not make it disabled. Oh my gosh. Work with the system to make sure that it's still enforcing and can protect your system. If you turn it off, it's not going to do you any good.
Let me.
Any software?
I was going to throw in one more comment.
Yeah.
You can go back up to the kernel dump.
Yeah.
So one thing that's being worked on upstream is the ability when you go in and configure the kernel dump here, you'll have a button in the upper right where it says View Automation Script. Okay, and so so the idea is you'll be able to configure kernel dump on this individual system you're logged into, and then click that View Automation Script, and it'll show you both a shell script, and then there'll be a tab for some Ansible content as well that'll allow you to take this kernel dump configuration you just implemented and reproduce it across a number of additional systems using either that shell script or Ansible content. So so that's something we're working on upstream and targeting to have in a future RHEL release. So
Nice.
yeah, pretty cool.
Love it.
And I have to add, the little Ansible content it's generating is, of course, the KDump system role to help you, implement that across other systems. So.
Oh,
Of
yes.
course it is.
Yeah.
So we're going to get to system roles in 1 second. I do want to hit that because in future, if you ever wanted to go on for your RHCA, you absolutely will have to know how to do system roles. They are immensely valuable. They are super helpful. If you've ever tried to configure something that you're not really sure of how to do it, this makes it easy because you don't have to worry about any and all configuration. You just need to tailor it to exactly what you were looking for. So there's certain particular keywords that you put in there for like an Ansible. It's a role. You put it into an Ansible playbook. You run the playbook, and it runs, and it just works. It'll do everything that you need it to do for you while making the choices available to you limited, and only the ones that you really need. I mean, you can do anything you want with a system role in terms of configuration, but it's just a lot easier to do things in a structured way so that you don't run around trying to do things like in a haphazard way. I was going to say system software updates. If you ever wanted to update your system, standard, sudo yum or DNF update-y, great. But here, if you wanted to set up automatic updates, cool. Enable your kernel live patching, awesome. Check whether your system is up to date. I did happen to update this a little before, so we're not going to have anything here. Subscriptions, how to manage your subscriptions here. Oh, this may be the first time it's running. Okay, so it is registered. It's connected over to Insights. I did this earlier. And again, if you wanted to go over to console.redhat.com, this will take you there. And the terminal, in case you ever wanted to do actual things on that system, you have a terminal in your browser. This is the coolest thing ever. I know. I get excited about a lot of stuff, but having the terminal available to you outside of just being on that system, you can do terminal access outside of it. So if you wanted to access terminal over, and you didn't want to do SSH for whatever reason, SSH into another system, okay, well, here you go. Here's a terminal. So I know we did want to get to RHEL system roles, right? So, it was you guys didn't throw any really hard questions my way about that one, so I'm really glad.
Well, Brian kind of switched teams on me. He didn't play customer. He switched over to enthusiastic product manager.
Yeah, he sold me on it. It sounds really cool. So
thank you. I think I had a rather easy audience there, but with the RHEL system roles. So in installing terminal session logging, let's take a look under. So this is the directory I created for all this stuff. Inventory is rather boring, but this is just the inventory you're going to run this role against, or the playbook against. So if we wanted to take a look at the inventory, this is all it is, really. It's just, where am I going to run this? All happens to be a group. Children happens to be the, if you wanted to include any children underneath a particular group, great. This will be the children. Record all terminal sessions, host, localhost. So basically, this is where it's going to run, localhost. It doesn't have to be this complicated, but this is how I chose to set it up. And if we want to take a look at the actual playbook that will install the terminal session logging. Oops. That's it. That's all it is right here. I just give it a name. I say I'm going to run it against all, which in this case will run it against localhost. The role that I want to run, Red Hat RHEL system roles, tlog, and with the scope that I want to configure it with. All. Boom. And all I have to do is say, I can type. And the B here is because I want it to become. So I'm going to have elevated privileges, and I want it to use root as the root is configured by default for the elevated privileges. And this won't take very long because I've already run it before. Ansible, as we all know, is idempotent. So idempotent, I can never figure out how to pronounce that word. Anyway, if it doesn't need to make a change, it will not make that change. If it does, it doesn't. So all this is doing is saying, cool, let's take a look at these specific variables. You can go through and see all of these different tasks that it has to perform. It's very nice because it gives you all the names. Okay, so it ran all these tasks, got 11 of them, changed absolutely nothing because I happened to run this earlier, but now we've installed terminal session logging. Awesome. That's it. That super simple playbook was able to install terminal session logging. You don't have to worry about like a whole bunch of other stuff that needs to be taken care of. This does it all for you.
And one of the nice
And
things,
I know I'm seeming really super excited about that, but I kind of am.
well, you should be. It's great. I mean, think about, we showed one system. What if I've got 1,000? What if I've got 10,000?
Oh,
The longer that I've
exactly.
been in the industry, the higher that sysadmin to system ratio becomes. Used to be, it took 3 people to manage one mainframe, and years later it took 3 people to manage 100 systems. And then you get into virtualization and now cloud, and now systems that spin up, do a job, shut back down. You've got all these different combinations to where some companies are running 30, 40, 50,000 Linux servers. I don't want to set up session terminal recording on all of them. Now I can write a 9-line Ansible playbook, run the command once, and have it across my entire fleet of systems. So
And not only that,
system roles
it's
give you that
consistent.
ability to manage your stuff at scale, and then couple that with web console that'll allow you to log into individual systems and troubleshoot what's going on. And in fact, I'll come back to your comment, I promise. In fact, here in my home lab, in fact, I think it was Jay Scar and I were chatting about the misconception of needing to run the web service on all of your systems. As long as the packages are installed, you don't have to run Cockpit on every system. So the change I'm going to make probably this afternoon on my home lab is some of these systems are pretty small. And so performance is having available resources is important. So I've got one system set up with my Tailscale VPN that serves as a Bastion host, or as a jump server, you might have heard it called. And so that is the only system that I can access from outside of my network. So when I travel, or like here in a little bit, I'm heading up to the Kansas City Red Hat user group. I can connect back to that one system using the Tailscale VPN IP address, and then be able to manage. Perfect example. I was in Argentina a couple of weeks ago for Latin America's Red Hat 1 internal conference, and the Plex server got hung, which of course, I guess I still am on call, because I got a text message from my wife across 2 continents saying that she couldn't watch her TV show because Plex had hung. So I logged in over the Tailscale VPN into my Bastion host, selected my Plex server, restarted the Plex server, and said, try it now from across the Atlantic Ocean. She goes, it works now. Thanks. Hope you're having a great conference. So this was meant to be a positive story, but I just realized I'm still on call. Sorry, Chuck. I stepped over your comment. Go ahead.
Not at all. That was amazing. Just letting you know that the ratio between sysadmin and server, it's growing. Right? You don't have as many sysadmins to manage as many systems anymore. It used to be pretty. It's not 1-to-1, but it was like 1-to-10 or 1-to-20 or whatever. It's grown. Oh, there's so many more systems out there that need to be taken care of. And doing it one by one, nobody wants to do that. Ansible, oh my God, doing it this way, just being able to run once, say, I want all of these systems that I put in my inventory to run this, do it, good. They're all set up exactly the same way. They will make it so that that end state is going to end up in that end state. That's brilliant. That's awesome. I'm sorry, I get a little excited about Ansible.
No. And see, that is why you have been so successful as a solutions architect, because everyone outside of this space says that, well, operating systems are boring, servers are boring, they're a dime a dozen. In fact, that's actually a lot higher than they actually cost nowadays, depending on volume. But it's like there's nothing new in the operating system. RHEL's old. It's got a 10-year life cycle. Not true. There are so many things going on in technology. There's so many things that are helping make RHEL continue to be either that slow-moving, methodical beast that has been known as, or you can run RHEL 9.3 and you can use application streams, containers, Ansible system roles. You can use all these tools to keep your technology fresh and save the developers on your team from having to worry about, I don't want to use PHP 2. I want to use PHP, whatever version they're up to now. But it really, really is an amazing time to be a systems administrator. Even more amazing time to be a solutions architect if you can couple your love of technology with a love of talking to people, which listening to you talk, like during our planning call a week ago, could tell that this guy loves technology. And I think that's mandatory.
You do have to love what you do. Absolutely.
So we're a little bit over time here, so we're gonna wrap it up. I've already told Chuck he's going to come back and tell us about this AI stuff he's working on, but we'll get there at some point. But few events coming up. In fact, if you're in Kansas City, as soon as we wrap up here, hit the road and go down to Vine Street Brewery or something like that, because we're having a Red Hat user group focused on RHEL security. So I was actually going to lead that workshop, but it's like, I can't leave here and run a workshop. So sorry, no. But I'm going to go hang out. I think you mentioned if you're in Philly or in the surrounding area, definitely check out the Philly Rug. In fact, if you follow any of us on LinkedIn, there's regular announcements in our areas about what what events are upcoming. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe this episode. I personally really enjoyed these day in the life. We had one very early on in my time as the host, talking about a day in the life of a Red Hat engineer, and I won't forget that episode. Talking to Alexandra Fedorova about being an engineer on Fedora and Red Hat, just really exciting, because I came up in the industry thinking, well, I'm a technologist, I love technology, so all I will ever be is a systems administrator. And that is so far from the truth. There's so many different things, and we hope every so often bring you an episode explaining what it is that you can do, what your career could look like. And folks like Brian and myself, and I assume Chuck, are easily found on the internet. So feel free to reach out, ask questions. I think I'd address marketing or field sales questions like once a week, either on Twitter, LinkedIn, Reddit, anywhere that I have an account. People find me and ask questions. So if anyone that we've had on the show seems to be open to answering your questions. So if you're interested, definitely hit like on this episode, share it with a friend, and be sure to subscribe, because this show this show is coming to an end. Our live streaming experiences just keep on going. And in fact, over the last week, we've released our first couple of shorts. Nate Lager from Into the Terminal has posted a short on using the ls command, and I published one on how to enable EPEL on Red Hat Enterprise Linux. So check out our shorts. We're really excited about them. They've been performing really well, but they can perform even better with y'all's help. As far as this show, we'll be back in 2 weeks for episode 74. We're going to be talking about the Stratus storage management system, which defied all belief and finally went GA in 9.3. So Brian and I will be back. We've got another solutions architect coming back as a guest to talk about Stratus. We're really excited about that. It's been mentioned to us a few times. But if you want a little bit more than 20 or 25 minutes hands-on with the terminal, forgive the pun, but you can join us every Friday. We're live on Into the Terminal, where we take a topic or a skill set and talk about how to do it in a 30-minute block of time. This Friday, we're continuing our workloads story arc on Into the Terminal. We'll be talking about web servers. I think Apache was selected. I think there'll be some talk about light HTTP, or maybe some Nginx. I don't know. I just produce that show, so I usually show up and learn something. But I heard that the regular hosts are actually at a conference next week. So not this coming Friday, but next Friday. And so I heard, don't quote me on this, but I heard that the hosts of RHEL Presents, Brian and I, are actually going to take over Into the Terminal for a week, and we're going to talk about whatever we want to. So join us on Friday for Scott and Nate as they talk about web servers, and then join Brian and I the following week. It'll probably be system roles related, might be web console related, who knows? we'll see if I can get Brian out of his comfort zone. But lots of content coming up. So definitely subscribe to our channel to find out all the awesome content that's coming out. With that, let's do a quick around the horn here. And Chuck, any closing thoughts?
Thank you guys so much for having me. This was fantastic. And I'm really excited to come back and talk about artificial intelligence.
Definitely. Brian, how about you?
Yeah, just want to thank Chuck. This was a great episode, and looking forward to having you back on in the future.
And we were worried about not having enough content. Here we are at 1 hour and 10 minutes. All right. So on behalf of Chuck Marshall, the Solutions Architecture team, the Red Hat Enterprise Linux Business Unit, Brian Smith, my co-host, and myself, Eric the IT Guy Hendricks. Thank you all so much for joining us on RHEL Presents. We really enjoyed having you live, and you can catch us every other Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern, I think. What time is it? It's 2 p.m. So yes, 2 p.m. Eastern. We'll be live to talk about something new. But until then, thank you, and we look forward to seeing you around town.